Hey Francesca, how you doing?
Hi Omar, how are
Hey.
you?
Good, how you doing?
Oh, I can't hear you. Give me 1 second. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now. How are you?
Good, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to do the Zoom. This will be a really good informative opportunity for a lot of people. We recently started our YouTube channel, and it dawned on me that all these conversations I have with you guys that are coming in for these meetings, they're all the information is stuff that people are asking. It's a great way for people to watch the interview and just kind of see stuff. So thanks for agreeing to do that. I know not everybody wants to be on this type of format, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, of course, yeah, anything to help anyone else. So I'm glad that we can do this. And thank you so much for meeting with me as well.
Absolutely. Okay, great. Where can we get started? What questions do you have for me?
Yeah, so I have taken a discovery flight and I have, asked some questions to other places as well. So I think my first question is just about timeline. So, in terms of when students can finish, like an hour,
Looks like we have a breakup of the signal. In terms of when students can what?
can complete their 150 hours. Is there an average amount before they kind of finish their commercial pilot's license?
You said 150 hours. Are you talking about the 250 requirement for the commercial?
Yes. Is it 250?
It's 250, yeah.
Okay.
So your question is, how long does it take to complete that?
Yes, especially for your students. Do you see like an average timeline that they
Yeah, so we've got two different programs at my school. We've got a traditional program, which is what I did um, when I started training here at this airport, John Wayne, in the late 90s,
Okay.
because there were no other options. Now they have these accelerated programs, which is what we offer. The
Okay.
accelerated program, it's 5 days a week, and um, it takes 7 months to finish.
Mhm.
Now, the schools that offer the accelerated programs, they're all different. Like if you're doing ATP, they're nationwide and they require you to be there full time every day, 8 to 5 is what everybody's telling me. With our program, we're not nationwide, so we don't have the complexity of their operation. So we can work with schedules a little bit better, and we have flexibility with that in that you can pick a morning slot and say 8 to 12:30, and the schedule would be from like 8 a.m. to 10, and then you would take a 30-minute break, and then from 10:30 to 12:30. So you're basically
Okay.
here for about 4.5 hours a day. And then if you want the afternoon slot, it would be, we take a 12:30 to 1:30 lunch break, and then it's 1:30 to 3:30, and then 4 to 6.
Okay. Sorry, I'm writing this down for my notes as well.
No problem.
And do you require money to be put down for this? I know I've looked into ATP and it's quoted a lot. So is there amount that you require students to put down for an accelerated program?
Um, do you need to take out a loan, or are you self-funding?
I plan to self-fund
Okay. So the way it works, um, how much is ATP's program?
about 90,000.
90, was it like 93 and change or something? Okay.
Mhm.
So our program is literally the same one. It includes all the same licenses, private, instrument,
Okay.
commercial, CFI, CFII, and multi-engine. It,
Okay.
it's 7 months. Ours is 87,995.
87,995.
However, our program gives you an instructor for all of the licenses for the classroom portion of the training. Whereas I've heard ATP, you get a King Schools program to go online and learn it from that. And then on top of that, if you need an instructor, they tell you that they have classes, like a classroom setting in the school. But from what I heard, the instructors there don't get paid for classroom time. So there's no real incentive for that. So when you go there, you're in a classroom with a bunch of people, and there's no guarantee that you're going to be at the same spot as those other people. You're not getting that personal attention. So,
Right.
we include that instructor for the entire course. That's an $8,000 value that we pay for. Not only do we charge less, but you get a heck of a lot more for your money. ATP is not a bad program. They offer a lot. I mean, they've got nationwide locations. I think ATP is geared for the student that had good study habits and has the ability to be able to not need a lot of guidance and have discipline and do it on their own. I had bad study habits when I was in high school. I was not getting challenged. I all throughout school, teachers were telling my mom, we need to skip him. We need he in first grade, they're like, he needs to be in third grade. In fourth grade, they're like, he needs to be in fifth grade. And all along the way, my mom's like, no. I mean, my mom was scared of the sun. She's scared of anything around. So my mom never let it happen. When I went from eighth grade to ninth grade, the first semester of high school, I studied my butt off. I got straight A's. And I basically was like, I could do this with my eyes closed. And so
Yeah.
I gave up at that point. I wasn't being challenged. So after that, I got C's, D's, and F's in school. And
Hmm.
what that really did is it damaged my study habits. It bred complacency. It bred laziness. So I carried that um, through most of my 20s in college, and I was always procrastinating. I was always like lazy about it. And so ATP is not for someone like that, in my
Yeah.
opinion. That's
Hmm.
my opinion. Everybody's got a different opinion about it. If you ask 10,000 pilots, there's 10,000 different answers. They've produced probably thousands of pilots at this point that have gone on to the airline successfully. But if you're that person that you're like, I need support, I need help, you know, our program's really geared for that. It's got that support there for the instructor for the one-on-one training. So in that aspect, we're different in that aspect. Now, to answer your original question about funding, most people don't self-fund. I think about
Hmm.
over 90% are financing. So because of the speed at which you're training, you can't just pay as you go.
Yeah.
When I did training, I had to give deposits down of a couple grand, and then that would bleed down. I give another couple grand. I don't even do that at my school. For people taking the traditional program, it's pay as you go. I had
Okay.
I had such a bad experience with paying money up front to a school. It wasn't what I liked, and then when I wanted to leave, they had my money. I mean, it wasn't much. It was a couple grand. To me, it was a lot of money. I was 17.
Yeah,
So,
totally. That was going to be one of my questions as well. If students decide not to continue, are there refunds? Do you get your money back?
well, if you've done the training, then no, because
Or the hours that you haven't actually flown for?
yes. So if you
Okay.
haven't flown, we can't keep that money. There's no
Okay.
reason why we can keep that money. So,
Mhm.
but the hours you have flown, then that's services we have provided, and obviously there's no refunds for that. And those
Mhm.
hours transfer. You can take as long as those hours are in your logbook, you can go anywhere you want. We have it happen all the
Mhm.
time. We have people that are in high school that start getting their ratings, and then they get accepted to a college or university somewhere else in the country, and they get up and leave. They got to go continue their training somewhere else. We have one right now that lives an hour and a half away that signed up with us because our loan provider, um, we were the only ones providing loans, and the school that was in his area didn't partner with any companies to provide loans.
Hmm.
They now partner with people, and he's probably, I'd say, halfway through training. And so he's like, hey, I don't, there's nothing wrong with your school. It's just, I don't want to drive an hour and a half anymore when this school has what I need. I'm like, hey, no problem. I totally understand.
Right. Hmm.
So if you're self-funding and you're in the accelerated program, there's payment schedules set up. First payments due it in the beginning, second payments due at a certain amount of hours, and so on and so forth. If you're just paying, like if you're not in the accelerated program, you just pay as you go.
Okay. Now, do accelerated students get priority over traditional students?
This is one of the big reasons, that is one of the big reasons why I push people to go to the accelerated program, because I'm like, hey, look, when you're in this accelerated program, we know that you're here for a long-term commitment for a heck of a lot of money, and that is a signal to the school your level of commitment, and that you want to be here. Now, what that does for the school is say, okay, we know this person's going to be here throughout their whole training. So people that come in that want to do their private, at various times, we might not have room for them, and we might tell them, hey, right now we just don't have the time to take you. I'm sorry. Because we turn those people away, we're able to do that because people are committing such a long-term program. So that's a big benefit, is like, you guys get, priority in scheduling versus people who are just doing this as a hobby. Now, the good thing is we haven't really had that problem with scheduling yet, because
Okay.
as the school has grown, we've added planes to the fleet. As students have graduated, now they're instructors. We have more instructors. So knock on wood, we haven't really had that problem. In the early years, it was a little tough, but we've really caught up to it. And our supply has been able to meet up with demand.
Amazing. Now, when you talk financing options, when I've spoke to other flight schools, they have almost discounts if you like join certain clubs or groups. Do you offer that as well?
Can you give me an example of a group, or what are they talking about?
There is like a group about like women in aviation or something where you get a discount for joining. Have you heard of this?
I haven't heard of it. We are part of Women in Aviation. They asked us to be at one of their events in Compton, I think about 3 months ago. Um, with the accelerated program, being that we do it for a decent amount less than ATP, and we provide a significant more amount of value in the program, which comes out of our pocket. If we're giving you an instructor for all those hours, we have to pay that instructor. And so not only are we cheaper, but it costs the school more money to provide the same service someone else is charging more for. We can't really discount the program any more than it already is. We just want to offer a fair price for what we do. Um, so unfortunately, yeah, that's the price is pretty much fixed for what we have.
Can I ask about the pricing for traditional? Do you have a set price or does it vary?
There's no we have it varies. There's no way that we can have a set price. I'll tell you why. So we have people that are good at this stuff. We have people that are average, and we have people that are, they shouldn't be here, right?
And
Um,
are you honest with students about this? I'm so sorry to interrupt. Do you
that's
talk to
all.
students about this?
Yes, that's like my biggest
Good.
frustration, is because let me explain. I'll get to that.
Okay. Okay.
We have people that are good, we have people that are average, and we have people that, bless their hearts, they shouldn't be in flight training. But here is the problem, Francesca. Flight school is not, I went to UC Irvine. I had to apply to school to get in. And if I didn't hack it, if I didn't pass the admissions, guess what? I got a letter that said you ain't coming in. In flight training, no such thing exists. If you have the money, then you're going to get in. The problem
Mhm.
with that is that if somebody doesn't have what it takes to do this, Nothing's there to stop them. And in fairness to the school, how is the school ever going to know that that person is walking in the door? Because it's not like that person will say, hey man, I suck at this, by the way, so good luck trying to train me. To be fair to that person, I don't think they know they suck at it. It's not like they go to some assessment place and say, hey, I need an assessment. How am I? Am I good? And you're like, you never know. So the thing is, if you come in here for your private, we won't know how long it's going to take you until you're a decent amount of the way in to have a sample to assess you and go, okay, this person's really good at this. They're picking it up like that. We have those. This person's average, or oh my God, this is getting bad. With the people that are bad, you ask me if I'm honest with them. Yes, I don't go up to them and be, hey man, you suck. Like you shouldn't be doing this, right? Let me be honest with you. I managed a flight school for 15 years before I opened my own. The owner of that flight school would sit people down and talk with them and say, this isn't for you because we've been doing touch and goes for 10 lessons and you can't pick this up. I don't think that this is for you. And they would just tell them, like, hey, politely say, go figure something else out. When I started my school, I tried that approach because that's what my mentor did. And I was like, I have a professional obligation to tell these people, you're kind of wasting your money. Do you know what those people did? Do you think they listened? The next day, I saw them at my competitors going into their planes and flying. And they were getting yelled at by the control tower because they were causing near misses in the air and causing all these accidents.
Mm-hmm.
I called my competitors and I was like, hey, this is what's going on. Do you think the competitors cared? They just wanted their money. So I learned a big lesson with that. Um, and so my approach to it has developed over the years. I keep everybody informed and I'm like, listen, here's the average. The average in the United States is 75 hours to get your private. On the low end, you're going to finish in 60. It's not typical. On the high end, 80, 85 hours, right? You're going to fall somewhere in there. My background, my uh, my dad was never in the picture. It was me and my mom. My mom barely spoke English. My mom's sister was married to a pilot, my uncle. So he was like my father figure. And I looked up to this guy every day. I mean, he was really stepped in the role of dad. And so from the age of like 10, when he was one of the first pilots for an airline called Emirates, he got hired in 1987 and he flew the 727 for them. At the age of 10 years old, I was going to Dubai to visit him and my aunt, staying with them for 3 months in Dubai in 1990. There's nothing there. These tall buildings that are there now is not there. And I would sit in the cockpit of the 727 while he'd fly the plane. A 10-year-old kid growing up in that environment has an unfair advantage over most people that want to do this unless those people have the same vantage point.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, I grew up playing with toy airplanes. I was playing with flight simulators as in my teenage years. I was sitting in the back of Cessnas out of John Wayne Airport in high school when my older cousin was getting his license. So when I started this, I had a huge leg up, and I left my 141 school that I started at here at this airport, which is still here today by the same owner. I left because one day I showed up and I had seen my name crossed off that was another time. I used to walk in and see my name crossed off the schedule. Back then, we didn't have the internet. So
Mm-hmm.
somebody else would write their name over me. And it happened to me like 3 times. I was pissed off. I was like, I felt like nobody really cares. What the hell? This is not right and stuff. So I was upset about that. The day I was supposed to solo, I had 15 hours. I walk in, they're like, your instructor got hired at an airline. It was flying a Metro 1900 out of Denver. I think it was called Key Lime Air. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
There was for somebody, they went out of business, and they said you're going to be with this guy right here. English was not the guy's first language. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just setting up
Mm-hmm.
the stage for it. We go out to the airplane, and we get in. We start up. and we start taxiing, and I accidentally grabbed the wrong instrument, and he slapped my hand. And so I grew up with, my uncle was a very tough guy. It was a different era, and that kind of behavior was acceptable back then.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, now it's not. So
Mm.
I just didn't like it. I said, it's one thing if it's my uncle. It's something when you're a stranger, you don't have a right to hit somebody. I never went
Totally.
back to the school. I was so embarrassed that I never asked him for the money I had on account. I didn't want to deal with it. The owner was an angry guy. I left.
Hmm.
I went to a 61 school, and it took me a couple months to find one, find an instructor, get rolling. Within 4 hours, I was soloing. I never once asked the instructor, hey, when am I going to solo? I wasn't pushy with him. I said, keep it cool, let him decide so that he doesn't think I'm some pushy dude. 4 lessons later, I soloed. I soloed in 19 hours, and I got my license in 65. So what I did is not typical. And the reason
Hmm.
I say that is this: I've been teaching for 22 years now. I own a school. I deal with a lot of students, and I see some people here, there, here, there. When I compare myself to those people at my school, I start to realize, hey, Omar, you did a lot better than most people. So my results were not typical for this airport. Now,
Right.
if you go to an airport that's not as busy,
Hmm.
you will be able to get your licenses in less time because there's nothing going on at that airport. They don't have a control tower. They don't have airliners landing. They don't have busy airspace around them. But the counter argument to that is if you want to be working in that environment, that's the environment you should want to train in. So
Right.
if you don't train in that environment, you're going to have a hard time trying to adapt and assimilate into this professional career. You can get through it. I'm not saying you can't. There's plenty
Hmm.
of people right now watching this getting triggered going, I got my license in Kansas and I did just fine. You can
Hmm.
do it. It's just gonna add to the level of difficulty. I did all my training at John Wayne, and when I got hired at the regional airlines in 2003, I was able to fit in easier because our first flight was Palm Springs, LAX, John Wayne, and I was right in my backyard where I did my training at.
Yeah.
So you're gonna that's the long answer to your question of where do you fall. You're gonna fall somewhere on the low end, which is rare. You're gonna be around 60 hours. Average is gonna be 70 to 75. On the high end, you're gonna be 80. Keep in mind, we have people that don't solo until 120 hours. We have people that don't get their license for 200 hours. Very rare, but it happens. We typically have 216 enrollments per year. And
Okay. That was also a question of mine.
we, out of those 216, we get about 2 people
Hmm.
that go over 100 hours to get their private. So
Okay.
1%. And then we get somebody that goes to 200 hours. And everybody always asks me why. Why does that happen? It's the same reason that I explained, like everyone's level of natural talent, ability. Sometimes it's not natural talent. Sometimes it's it's they're not putting in the work. A lot of times it's the school's fault. If the schools are being mismanaged, if the schools
Hmm.
are being run improperly, the student can do everything right, but they're up against the wall. Let me give you an example. Like, I did all my flight instruction, I did all my readings here. I went to the airlines for 10 years. I still flight instructed part time when I was an airline pilot. I flew turboprops as a first officer, as a captain. I flew left seat and in jets all over the US. Then when I came to do this, I bought an airplane to start flight instructing part time. I started giving my airplane out to a maintenance shop. They'd have my airplane for 2 to 3 weeks. They were not in any rush to give it back to me, and
Hmm.
I got bills for $4,000 that I couldn't afford.
Yeah.
You know what that told me? I can't take my airplane to this maintenance shop. I got to figure out how to fix it. You can't do that. you have to have a certified A&P mechanic to work on the airplane. So I found a mechanic and I said, hey, you need to get your license. I need someone to work on my airplane. Let's trade services. I had a mechanical background. I took auto shop in high school for 4 years. And then when my uncle, who was an airline pilot, retired from Emirates, he opened an automotive repair store. I worked in it for a couple of years and I did oil changes, I did tune-ups, I mean, you name it, I did everything. So when I started working on airplane engines, I kind of knew my way around piston engines. They're all the same.
Yeah. Hmm.
He taught me, I mean, a lot. And through that process, I spent thousands of dollars making costly mistakes, breaking stuff because I didn't know how to handle it, having to order a new part to replace it. So I'm now 8 years into wrenching. I'm qualified to take my A&P test. I got to go make time, make 2 weeks, and go take the test. I'm an A&P. I've got the 3,600 hours that's required to take it. That insight of being a mechanic for the last 8 years, being out with my maintenance team, working on planes, it gives me the insight into how to manage my flight school better than most. Some of the owners aren't even in their school. Some of the
Yeah.
owners aren't pilots, let alone flight instructors. They
Hmm.
might be mechanics. Some of them aren't mechanics. Some of them are people from other industries like lawyers and doctors that thinking, oh, flight training is hot. Let me buy this as an investment, having no clue what they're doing. And they go from a successful flight school and they run it into the ground. So, to be fair to the student, do your research, find out who the owner of the school is, and be careful because if you go to a mismanaged flight school, they're going to eat your money alive. And, you get all the hours, but hours are not the same. We get people that come here all the time. They've got 20, 30 hours switching schools, and we take them out to do some basic stuff and they're clueless. I mean,
Hmm.
kind of like, what have you been doing for all the hours? I feel sorry for them because I was a student pilot at one time. So my heart goes out to them. We try to help them as much as possible, but you know, I can't go back and get their money back for them. So it's important for the owner of the business to be there every day. It's important that they know what they're talking about and they're not just there trying to, run a business because this is not a business. You got to be a pilot first. Um,
Yes. And I have to tell you, you're out of the flight schools I've talked to. Oh, sorry, I think my connection was bad. Out of the flight schools I've talked to, you're the only owner I've been able to even have a conversation with. And I definitely I think that's sad. I think that if you have this type of, I mean, it is a business still, but if you have this type of business, like, you have to be involved and intentional.
you have to be. And so again, no knocking the national academies, all that. That special attention to detail is not there. And I will be very honest with all my viewers and everybody, it's very stressful on me, right? I've aged a lot.
Right.
I got a lot
Hmm.
of white hair because it's stress, like making sure everybody's doing the right thing, holding everybody accountable, holding the instructors accountable for you, holding you accountable for the instructors. Um, Looks like we got about 10 minutes, then I got to upgrade on this thing to a pro account. So I'll do that after this meeting.
That's so funny.
Holding myself accountable. Like, I don't want
Hmm.
to get up on Saturday and I want to stay home with my wife and relax. I get up, I come here, I make sure things are running smooth. So um, I appreciate the compliment. It's a lot of hard work, but if you put in the work, people will see it like yourself and they come in and they sign
Yeah.
up and I have money to pay my rent every month. So
Yeah. How did you go from flying with the airlines to wanting to own a flight instructing business and actually instructing?
this was never planned. I
Mhm.
got hired at a major airline after spending 10 years at the regionals. While I was at the major airline, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer for the second time in her life. I
Wow.
asked the airline if I could resign, or not resign. I asked them if I could come back and take a leave of absence. They said no. I don't want to say who the airline is, obviously,
Hmm.
professional about it.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't like that. I didn't feel like that's a destination airline. They should treat their employees well for something that's actually very important. Somebody's mom has stage 4 cancer, and you're like, no, you got to stay here or leave. So obviously, I left. I spent a year, kind of staying around the family and my mom. She's in remission. She made it about 7 years. And then I have two moms, by the way.
Okay.
So um, when she kind of went into remission, got better a year later, it's not like you can just reapply at the major airlines. You have to fly at some professional outfit to reapply. I didn't
Hmm.
want to go back to the regionals because you have to start over. You have to get back in line with the seniority. So I didn't want to go back there. So I was running out of money to pay my
Hmm.
bills, and I just started flight instructing. People quickly found out, hey, there's this airline captain that's got a lot of experience, and he's teaching people. So obviously everybody's going to sign up with that. I got really busy, and then I said, all right, well, I can easily buy an airplane because I was renting an airplane to do the instruction. I bought a plane, and I had a CFI under me. I mentored him, and I watched closely over him to develop him and have him teach. One airplane turned into two, two turned into five, five turned into 10. So at some point, everything was happening so quick. I didn't have a moment to breathe and look back. And, looking back, I've got millions of dollars invested into this operation. I've got, you know, 216 enrollments per year. I've got so much invested into this now. It doesn't make sense for me to go back to the airlines, in terms
Yeah,
of financially and career wise move. I should have been at the major airlines 10 years ago, left seat and a captain on the wide body by now, probably, or something. So for me to go back, it doesn't make any sense for me.
totally. Yeah, and that is a long career. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, I do just have a couple more questions.
Yeah. We might run
Back
out of time, so I'll definitely call you back if we do, okay?
Okay, perfect. Back to just the traditional like pricing. We were talking about, great, good, bad students. What is like the variation with that?
Our hourly rate for the airplane is 185 an hour.
Okay.
Our flight instructor rate is 75 an hour. Um, you get a 3% discount if you're using cash because we don't have to pay our merchant processor the 3%. So that's there. We're not the most expensive at the airport by far.
Oh,
We're
I
not,
know.
we're not the cheapest by far.
Mhm.
But in my humble opinion, we are the best quality school at the
Yeah.
airport.
And
Uh,
I can honestly tell you that I already feel that. I feel a lot of quality from your end already.
thank you. When I started this 8 years ago, I had 0% market share at this airport. Today, honestly, you can come at this airport. I'll teach you how to do it. We can we conduct about 60 to 70% of the market share at the airport, and that's through what you're seeing basically today. So that price is for steam gauge 6-pack airplanes.
Hmm.
Um, we have G1000s.
Hmm.
Uh, when you're in the airline program, you get access to both. If you're in the pay as you go and you're just taking your private, then obviously
Yeah.
you have to pay a higher rate for the G1000. They're pricey. That plane
Mhm.
costs $600,000 after taxes. So it rents for $225 an hour. The people that are watching this going, holy smokes, they're robbing you. Come to John Wayne. We pay $400 a month for parking per plane.
Mhm.
They're paying $50 a month for parking.
Do you own all the planes? Does
I own
your
every airplane. I have no debt. I don't do any lease backs. I don't let anyone have
Okay.
operational control of my aircraft except me. At times when I should have gone out and bought a house and spent all this money, enjoyed my life, I saved every penny and I never took out loans. I own every single airplane. And so um, our cost structure is much higher at John Wayne than it is in, Phoenix or
Mhm.
any other, most of the airports. We are restricted on who can refuel our airplanes. The county has a contract with the FBOs. They can only exclusively sell fuel to us, and so we're paying higher fuel prices than most people. We pay
Wow.
higher
Okay.
rent prices. Orange County is a very expensive place to operate.
And live. Um, my other another question that is big for me because I it's a lot of hours to do and to have an idea of what a career will look like after that, whether that's instructing, whatever it may be. Do you have resources available for students after they're done with their commercial pilot to become an instructor? Do you hire a lot of your own students?
If you're in the airline program, it includes the flight instructor license. Our goal is to
Yeah.
have you as an instructor instructing for us because we're building a relationship with you. I know your character at that point. I know whether you like to be late. I know whether you're lazy. I know whether you like to not tell the truth. I know whether you show up late to lessons. So when it's time to offer you a job, I look back and I say, hey, did you demonstrate the qualities that I look for when I want to hire an instructor? Because look at this. You're right now trying to shop the school. If the school had crappy instructors and didn't show up on time, you wouldn't pick us. We wouldn't have the reputation we have. So I hold
Mhm.
the instructors accountable for this. But when you finish, now the shoe's on the other foot. And a lot of people don't like this because I now have to apply a different standard to them. And I go, you're not a student anymore. You're applying as a job and instructor. How did you conduct yourself as a student? Did you not show up to your lessons? Were you late all the time? Did you fail your check rides? Did you not study? Okay, put yourself in my shoes. It's not like you're going to change your behavior all of a sudden now that you're an instructor. It's habit through time that forms. So the job is yours to lose as a flight instructor. We would love to hire you guys. The question is, did you try hard? Were you putting in your best effort? Were you a decent person? Were you a professional? Did you provide the service that every student wants out of a flight instructor? If the answer is yes, you're guaranteed a job here.
Amazing. I love that. How many instructors do you have at a time?
And
Okay, cool. I don't think I have any other questions.
great.
No, I think you answered so many of them.
You're
So
welcome.
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Now, say I do want to start a traditional program. I do work full time. I did save up so much money to do this.
Good for
At the
you.
same time, I have rent. Um,
Yes.
and yeah, and Orange County is expensive. So
Very.
say I do want to start a traditional program, how would that look with you guys?
I would highly recommend minimum 3 days a week to train. You're probably looking at about a year and a half to 2 years to finish at 3 days a week.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency. That's the thing. We're open Monday through Saturday, so you can pick any time slot. Lessons are 2 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
So Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, whatever works for you. Be consistent with it. Don't stop training no matter what you do. Don't take long breaks. And for every um, 3 hours that you fly, you want to dedicate 1 hour of studying at minimum. That's me begging people like, hey, please do this 1 hour. If it was me, I would do the opposite. Like military pilots, these guys with 300 hours are a whole different animal than a civilian pilot with 300 hours. The reason why is for every 1 hour that they train, they're in a classroom for 10 hours.
Yeah. We went over studying. Now, if I want to do traditional and I need to do the online course for private, is there a school that you recommend?
Huge conflict of interest, but I'm going to recommend mine. I've been working on an online course for 6 months now. We go
Okay.
we go into beta testing in 2 weeks, and we're planning to launch on April 1st, and we're launching all the courses: private, instrument, commercial, flight instructor instrument, ground instructor. I think I'm leaving one out. I think we're also doing drone, so we're gonna have all the courses available. Yeah, uh,
Yeah.
and I'm currently in the middle of. I can't say it on this yet. I can't make the announcement, but we're working on something pretty good. It's gonna be good. But you've got a lot of offerings out there. You've got King schools. You've got all those traditional places. Here's my take on this. A lot of people misunderstand what they are. They aren't so much a ground school in that they're replacing an instructor in the classroom. they're meant to help you pass the online written knowledge test that you take. I think the schools, the online companies, I think they could do a better job of helping clear that up, because students buy that course for $300. They come into my school, they go, I want to sign up for your program. I've already done the ground school. And I'm like, now I have to unconvince them of why they haven't done the ground school. And they get upset because they're like, well, I paid $300 thinking that that's everything I needed to know. And I'm like, yeah, they conveniently kind of don't tell you that that's just for the written test.
Yeah.
I took the written test from a paperback version of the test prep, $30. I still sell it at my school. So you don't need those courses online, but if you were to say, I want them, think of them as supplemental to what you're doing. Because when you come in, instructor's going to say, hey, tell me how lift works. Tell me how to pre-flight a 172. Tell me how, when you turn the key on to the starter, what's going on in the systems. All this stuff that those programs don't go in depth enough. So I'm going to be offering one pretty soon too, but it's to help you pass the written. It's not so much geared to be a full ground school per se. So if you're, I totally understand if you don't want to wait around. I don't know if I would, but we'll have something available by April 1st, hopefully.
Okay, amazing.
And this,
Now with your grounds, yeah, how funny. Now with your ground school, a lot of what I like about the online, you know, paper helpers, a lot of what I like about them is you can go back and like view your material and like, refresh and go over like studying again. Will your online school offer that as well?
yes, so it'll be a lifetime membership when you buy it. Um,
Perfect.
it it's going to it's a there's different programs, there's different software programs that are plugins for
Hmm.
companies to offer this. One of them is called LearnDash. We People use LearnDash to save money on writing code so that they don't have to custom build this out.
Yeah.
We're custom building it out. Uh,
Okay.
we're not using this LearnDash. It's costing me a heck of a lot of money to put it together because I want it to be the best version of what it can be. I don't want it to have compromises and stuff. So you're going to be able to have a lifetime membership. It's going to have all the courses. It's going to have all the different parts, all the courses. You're going to be taking a practice exam after each part. So your private pilot will have 12 parts to it, and then
Hmm.
each part will have an exam at the end. And then at the end of the entire series, the part 12, you have to take a final test. And here's the thing: a lot of these companies say, we guarantee you'll pass your written exam or you get your money back. The way that they make this promise is they tell you you have to take the written exam within like 48 hours of taking the final exam online and scoring a minimum score of like whatever it is. My threshold is 90%. I'll tell you why. If you take a written exam, you don't score a 90%, you go in to take your check ride. What do you think the examiner is going to think about when you walk in and show him, 78? He'll be like, this person had all the chance to study. They had the questions, they had the answers, and they still got a 78. Looks like they're just lazy and they don't want to try hard. They're not telling you this, but that's
Yeah.
what they're thinking. The people who are giving you the exams, these FAA designated examiners, I've literally flown with them in jets, side by side, shoulder to shoulder for a long time before they were ever selected to be examiners. Um, my local FISDO we talked about it they're like, hey, why don't you become an examiner? I said, I can't, it's a conflict of interest. I can't be the owner of the school, because then people are going to say, oh, you're just passing everybody because they're at your school or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't even have time to do it. But you have to get a high score, because if you don't, that person's going to judge you and they're not going to tell you. And if you go out to the airplane, if you have, like, I have students, let me give you an analogy. I have students at my school that try really hard, and on occasion they slip up.
Hmm.
But you know what I tell them? I go, yeah, it's okay, don't worry about it, because I know they're hard workers. Then I
Yeah.
have the people that are just, I can't get them to do anything. They're lazy. They never do their work. You could just tell they're not studying. They don't know the answer. You tell them. They don't do anything. I'm hard on those people. Sometimes they come to me and they're like, how come you're hard on me, but you take it easy on that person? I'm like, because they try hard every day. So when you go to your check ride and you show up with a 96% and you knock his socks off or her socks off for the test, then you go out to the airplane to do the test and you mess up on something, they're going to overlook it most of the time because they're like, one slip up's okay. This person has demonstrated hard work and ethic. I'm willing to overlook that kind of stuff. When you show up with a 78 and you kind of, excuse my language, but you half-ass it all the way through the oral, and then you go to the airplane and you're weak at this and you're weak at that, then guys are gonna say, you know what? Why? I'm not doing this guy any favors. Come back when you're ready, and they hand you a pink slip and you fail. So that's, important. You got to get a high score on the written. It matters. It says my internet connection's unstable, but we'll see.
Yeah, mine isn't great either. I do have to get going here to get back to work now, but I really appreciate you so much. This was amazing, and you answered every single question I had and then some. Oh, there's a dog in the office.
That's
Um,
Charlie. Yeah, he's our chief puppy.
oh, cute. So thank you so much. I will definitely, is it best to call you or text you if I'm wanting to continue and do like a traditional private?
You'll get a hold of me quicker by texting because
Okay.
there's usually 1,000 things going on. You're free to call. I might not
Okay.
answer because I'm in a ton of these meetings and stuff. So
Yeah.
text me, best way to get a hold of me.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Omar.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Hope
Good
you
luck
have a
with
great day.
everything. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.